and a set of fixtures that had an air of animosity about them. Cascadia rivals Portland and Seattle renewed their hostilities at Providence Park. It was Derby Day in Texas too, with Dallas and Houston going toe-to-toe. But we begin in Los Angeles with the first El Tráfico of 2021.
LAFC travelled south to Dignity Health Sports Park, boasting an unbeaten start to the new season. But they began the weekend 1 point behind the LA Galaxy, who had made a bright start under Greg Vanney, despite suffering a first defeat the previous week at Seattle. Commentary comes from Chris Wise.
Here is Kay. That's delightful for Rossi, who has missed. And frankly, all expected the net to bulge. Beautifully weighted from Kay in Rossi's direction, and the contact just wasn't clean. It is Legetta lifted in as far as Grancia. Still the LA Galaxy providing the threat on LAFC's goal. It's a brilliant challenge by Williams, and it's fallen lovely for Chicharito. The Galaxy in front, and it had to be him. The Mexican showing once more that he is a maestro in the penalty area. A goal on his El Tráfico debut, made by the robustness of Williams. Cifuentes. And Atuesta, and now Rossi, and Blessing, and both denied by Jonathan Bond. The Galaxy goalkeeper showing some real flexibility. Rossi, Blessing, Baird, Rossi! 1-1. The showstoppers are out in El Tráfico. And this really is a beautifully crafted goal. LAFC have their leveller. Assistance from Dunbar. Is still going as well. It has taken 3 to crowd him out. But Dunbar has pinched it back again. Chicharito and Dos Santos. They lead again. Jonathan Dos Santos with a very clever finish. And in a derby that never fails to deliver, the Galaxy flexing their muscles again. Final few seconds for LAFC to try and rescue this. Dunbar, and there is no more time. The victory belongs to the Galaxy. LAFC beaten for the very first time this season.
Before the second goal, I kind of felt it building, and the fans kind of scored the goal. I know Jonas scored the goal, but it was kind of, you could feel a goal was coming. And yeah, it was just an amazing day, and we're just relieved to, well, I'm relieved to come away with a win.
Arguably the longest and bitterest rivalry in North American soccer saw the Portland Timbers play host to the Seattle Sounders. The visitors had the best chance of a low-key first half. Raul Ruidiaz close to adding to the 4 goals he'd already scored this season. The game sparked into life shortly after the break, when Shane O'Neill's foul on Jeremy Abobasi led to a Portland penalty. Diego Valeri was initially thwarted by the Sounders goalkeeper Stefan Fry, only to be offered a second chance after Fry was deemed to have come off his line too soon. And though Valeri thought he'd saved his own blushes after hitting the post, the goal was ruled out as it hadn't been touched by another player prior to his follow-up. Less than 3 minutes later, the roles were reversed when Seattle were awarded a penalty for Jeff Atinella's trip on Rui Diaz. The two then faced off from the spot.
3 minutes after a twice-taken failed penalty at one end, Rui Diaz scores at the other, and the Sounders lead on enemy territory.
And they had the audacity to extend it with 11 minutes left. Substitute Freddie Montero scoring within 7 minutes of coming on. Bill Tuiloma's injury-time free kick was scant consolation for Portland as the Sounders made it 3 wins from 4 league games.
To a third rivalry matchup in the West and the first Texan derby of the 2021 season, FC Dallas and the Houston Dynamo had produced inconspicuous starts to their campaigns, but Bressan's first half handball was about as obvious as they come. The penalty taker was Fafa Pico, a player who swapped Dallas for the Dynamo in the off-season. Meticulous with the spot kick, respectful with the celebrations. His former teammates were level within 8 minutes though. Brian Acosta bounced a pass across goal in the direction of Hada Obrian, who scored for the second game running. These two though tend to be pretty inseparable. The most common outcome in this particular Texan tussle is a draw. Maxi Urruti unable to shrug off Acosta as Houston nearly regained an immediate advantage before the break. The Dynamo could have won it too in what was a more tranquil second half. Memo Rodriguez's free kick pushed away. Bressan's hand, this time only active in thanking his goalkeeper as Dallas held on to a point.
Real Salt Lake boasted the league's only 100% record ahead of their game at home to the San Jose Earthquakes. Justin Merum's 16th minute crossbar strike was an early sign that they were keen to maintain it. Though shortly before half-time, Rubio Rubin gave an emphatic statement of intent.
What a goal! Golazo! Rubio Rubin! 43rd minute! Phenomenal!
Rubin's third goal in 2 league appearances, an early contender for goal of the season. 38-year-old San Jose forward Chris Wondolowski had an eventful start to his 17th season in MLS. Missing an open goal in week 1 to being sent off and then suspended in weeks 2 and 3 respectively. Wondo got back to doing what he does best when equalising as a second-half substitute. And then, never one for doing things by halves.
Wondo! 2-1! Wondo in the 83rd and 87th, turning this game on its head.
Wondolowski's winner drew him level with Landon Donovan for MLS career goals in the regular season and playoffs combined.
At Rio Tinto Stadium the following day, Vancouver and Montreal met for the first time ever outside of Canada. The Whitecaps keeper Maxime Crepeau has played for both clubs. His stature prevented Bjorn Johnson from scoring the opener. The two coaches, Marc Dos Santos and Wilfried Nancy, actually spent time together in Montreal's academy. Dos Santos' side hadn't carved out a shot on target in the first 56 minutes, but when Kamal Miller bumped into Christian Dahomey inside the penalty area, it was Nancy's turn to look unimpressed. Dahomey has a penchant for scoring against Canadian rivals. His last 3 goals had now come against familiar foes. And there was more where that came from. Dahomey situated himself perfectly to score again with 19 minutes to go to give the Whitecaps a sustainable lead. It was the first time this season that Vancouver had held a 2-goal advantage. CF Montreal thought they'd halved that lead with a minute to go. Lassi Lapalainen profited from some unstable defending, but despite the Finnish international's persistence, the goal was ruled out. The long arm of the law, aka video review, catching Eric Hurtado in the act.
Having beaten Vancouver the previous week, the Colorado Rapids hosted Minnesota United, who had begun the season with 3 consecutive defeats. When Michael Barrios went close after only 9 minutes, it looked like Minnesota coach Adrian Heath might be in for another uncomfortable night. That was until Emmanuel Reynoso's spectacular contribution 8 minutes later suggested otherwise. By the midway point of the first half, Minnesota's woes looked firmly behind them when a quick-fire counter-attack ended with Hassani Dotson doubling the visitors' lead. The Loons had their mojo back. At least they did until half-time. Straight from the restart, the anxiety began to creep back in, as first Cole Bassett and then Keegan Rosenberry fired warning shots. Colorado had significantly upped their game, and it was of clear concern to Heath. A torrent of Rapids pressure bore fruit 12 minutes into the second half.
Chance there, driven. Oh, what a goal! What a goal from Kellen Acosta!
With a foothold in the game, Colorado continued to press, and with 19 minutes left, 19-year-old Bassett capitalised on Dane St. Clair's mishandling of the ball to make it 2-2. And there was still time for the Rapids to land the fatal blow.
Header! Oh, they've done it! Danny Wilson! From 2-0 down to 3-2 up, and the Rapids are in front on an incredible night.
Both Colorado and Minnesota had fallen at home to Austin FC in previous weeks, and when Jared Stroud is playing passes like that, they're a difficult team to contain. John Gallagher scored the early goal as SKC got a flavour of what the expansion team are all about. There is a distinct quality about Austin's attacking play. Thomas Pochettino almost produced something truly wonderful as Sporting Kansas City's cage appeared rattled. But with less than 25 minutes remaining, this was the defining contact by an Austin player. Their captain Alex Ring needed treatment himself for his challenge, but as soon as he was back on his feet, he was trudging off. A second yellow card from the referee, and with Ring gone, SKC sensed this was their calling. Daniel Shallowy picked up on Gianluca Buzio's good work, though Austin goalkeeper Brad Stuver appeared to get fingertips on the ball to brilliantly deny him. But a sway of SKC pressure told. Ilie scored a rare goal with 8 minutes to go, and with Children's Mercy Park bubbling with excitement over the prospect of a first home win of the season, their side duly obliged. Gardy Kinder's flicked header won it in the 90th minute. His celebration not quite perfect, neither was SKC's display, but they both just about got away with it.
A shot goal! Oh, what a finish, Caden Clark! The kid's done it again!
The New York Red Bulls have a 17-year-old starlet shining in MLS.
Oh my goodness, Caden Clark!
For Clark and co, an old friend stood in their way. Former coach Chris Armas returned with Toronto FC.
Oh, wonderful from Richie Laurent, and it's knocked in there by Luke Singh.
Matt Jackson and Dan Roebuck are your commentators.
Here is Gutman, who was signed from Celtic. Early ball in towards that right-hand side, and the header will go down as a shot on target from Brian White.
Just catches it too thinly, that header. Comfortable save in the end.
Oh, that's a block, and it comes to Akinola. Can he finish? Well, it almost seemed to happen in slow motion. He knows that was a chance.
He's got to do better. First touch is actually okay, but he's just got to quicken his feet up to get onto it.
Here comes the press from the Red Bulls, and they've managed to win it back. Excellent play from Caden Clark to race forward. What about the delivery inside the area? This is Amaya with a shot! Brilliant! Frankie Amaya on point, gives the New York Red Bulls the advantage over Toronto FC.
Just can't let the ball run across you in that situation. Marco Delgado, when there's no pace on it, it's a fine finish, shapes as though he's going to curl that one. And the drill finish to the right is a fantastic finish.
Just wonder if this young man deserves a secondary assist for that as well. Caden Clark, who robbed the ball, manages to feed Fabio. Here he is again, he does look the part. Both Caden Clark and Kate Cowell plays for the Quakes, blessed with men's bodies in teenage years. Oh, here he comes again, oh my word. Fabio, well, did he take his eye off the ball?
No, it's a tough chance because he doesn't expect it to get to him. Caceres does brilliantly on that right-hand side. That catches Fabio out. He'll be disappointed.
That ball's coming forward once again, slipped through towards Fabio. Can he take a touch here? He can. Can anyone finish? Well, man of the moment can. Caden Clark has the Red Bulls on the charge once again. The teenager on the score sheet. Third of the campaign.
It's a lovely weighted pass from Yearwood. That's a good save, gets a bit unlucky. Well, you just feel some players destined for great things, right place at the right time, good things happen to them. Looks like Caden Clark might be amongst them.
Gutman. Royer. Still going. He finds the pass for Caceres here. It's on his left side. Might get another go. Ricochets around. It's awkward, and the shot from Fernandez is wide.
He's unlucky. Caceres does well. Royer does well. They keep continuing to hustle. It's 4 bodies up in the box, gives you a chance.
Red Bulls too good for Toronto. They've beaten the Canadian side by 2-0.
Struber's been great with his energy. He fires us up every day in training. Before a game, you know, he really brings groups together, and yeah, he gets you going. So I think that just, you know, helped me before this game.
The New England Revolution were the early pace setters in the Eastern Conference prior to their trip to Nashville. The hosts, who had opened their campaign with 3 consecutive draws, took the lead in a game for the first time this season, courtesy of CJ Sapong's first goal for Nashville. While they had the better of the first half, the Revs made a fast start to the second, though Adam Buxer's goal was immediately ruled out for offside against the player who assisted him, Arnor Traustason. Finding a legitimate way through was proving difficult for the Revolution, and Buxer in particular. At the other end, Jonda Cadiz also struck the frame of the goal, as Nashville sought to kill the game off. It wasn't long before they did just that.
Alex Wheel, 2-0. His first goal for Nashville, a big goal for Nashville.
With the points effectively in the bag, it was left to Joe Willis to ensure a clean sheet when denying Brandon Bye from close range. A first win of the season for Nashville, as Bruce Arena's Revs fell to their first defeat.
NYCFC returned to Exploria Stadium 169 days after their last visit, which resulted in a truly epic penalty shootout exit to Orlando in the playoffs. This time it was third against second in the East, Andres Jason with one of the better chances for Ronnie Dyler's team in the first half. But the hosts started the second with purpose and a perennial match winner very much in the mood. Nani had scored in each of Orlando's past 2 games, both unique, and then this.
He is a one-man highlight reel this season. It's Nani who scores to steer Orlando in front.
Nani has never been more relevant in Florida, but his team should have seen what was coming next. Not necessarily the NYCFC penalty itself. João Moutinho's foul was nothing more than a clumsy error of judgment. But Orlando could have predicted the identity of the person that would eventually wipe out their clean sheet with 13 minutes to go. Tati Castellanos became only the 5th player in MLS history to score 4 goals in each of his first 4 games. Castellanos' strike partner Jesus Medina perhaps should have won it for NYCFC with just 10 seconds of stoppage time remaining. Pedro Galese stood tall to stop that from happening, but it was almost fitting that the game's last meaningful moment was that penalty kick. Only this time, the two teams couldn't be split.
Knocked out of the CONCACAF Champions League in midweek, Caleb Porter's MLS Cup holders, the Columbus Crew, took a 20th minute lead at home to DC United, courtesy of Lucas Zelarajan. It was the Crew's first MLS goal of the season. They'd drawn their first 2 games 0-0, but the goal habit had returned here, even if their second was an own goal, credited to Frederick Briand. 2-0 Columbus after 63 minutes. Ola Kamara scored 34 MLS goals in 2 seasons with Columbus, and after reducing the deficit for DC late on, he cut short his celebration out of respect for his former club. Any fears Porter might have had that his team were about to throw away a 2-goal lead were banished barely 60 seconds later when Tony Alfaro put through his own net. The third own goal conceded by DC in as many games, confirming the Crew's first MLS win of 2021.
The Philadelphia Union are the league's only remaining representatives in the Champions League, and yet they were still without a win in MLS this season. The Chicago Fire knew all about that too, and were indebted to the quick reactions of their goalkeeper Bobby Shuttleworth to snuff out the Union's Corey Burke early on. But the Jamaican international's frame and flexibility were the key reasons why the Union did score just 6 minutes after the restart. This was the 5th time in Burke's MLS career that he'd netted against the Fire. The defending Supporters' Shield winners experienced little trouble at Soldier Field, apart from a moment immediately after that goal. This miss was most unlike Robert Berich. His coach, Raphael Wicki, equally perplexed. It was a costly chance spurned too as the Union nabbed a second on the hour mark. Jacob Glesnes with his first MLS goal for 14 months, and the Union with their first win in the competition for precisely 6.
It was Atlanta United whom Philadelphia knocked out of the Champions League in midweek, and in our final game, Gabriel Heinze came up against former Manchester United teammate Phil Neville, his Inter Miami counterpart. It took all of 8.5 minutes for Joseph Martinez to strike a long-awaited MLS goal.
And there is a trademark finish. He is back in business.
The Atlanta striker's first for more than 18 months. Gonzalo Higuain had scored in each of his other 2 MLS appearances this season. Brad Guzan denied him here to preserve Atlanta's lead. On the hour mark, Higuain again saw an opportunity to restore parity for Inter Miami, only to spurn the chance. But a player familiar to Atlanta eventually found a way through.
It's a good run this by Morgan. Maisley run, fabulous finish at the end of it. And a brilliant equalising goal.
Lewis Morgan had scored twice at home to Atlanta last season. Then as the game moved into added time, Inter Miami appealed for a penalty after Guzan thwarted Victor Ulloa. However, the protests fell on deaf ears and the points were shared.
New York City FC are the new leaders in the Eastern Conference following their draw at Orlando and New England's defeat to unbeaten Nashville. The Red Bulls' win against Toronto has elevated them up to 3rd.
In the West, the top 2 are as you were after those wins for both Seattle and San Jose. LAFC have dropped to 10th following defeat to the Galaxy, and Minnesota remain pointless at the foot of the standings.
So a week when creativity was simply no match for consistency.
1-0, 2-1! You knew he wanted the go-ahead goal, and he just got it.
The Sounders delivered on Derby Day.
Sunshine for Seattle, pain for Portland.
while the City of Angels belong to the Galaxy.
It's Dos Santos! LA Galaxy win!
This copyrighted broadcast of Major League Soccer may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.